All right, we are live. We are back. We are back again. We've made some improvements to our ambiance. I've relocated to the bar, which is about 15 feet from where I work. Which is the best kind of bar during pandemic times. We are here for everyone who's joining in on the live stream to celebrate, to discuss Pico's launch today on Product Hunt. We did an earlier event with the Product Hunt Live, talking about the products, the creator economy, all sorts of different things. We got in pretty deep. Let me share the link to that real quick here, just so you guys are all following along. There we go. And right now we're going to do some design and cocktails, which means I'm going to be mixing a drink. I don't know, like, it sounds like Jason already got ahead of us. So Jason's already, well into his fourth drink or something. That is a Product Hunt launch for you. Rodolphe, Scott, what kind of wine you got? You want to tell us about the wine? What is this? That looks like a Syrah. Is it a Malbec? What is that?
I wish this was like, fancy, but it's an Italian wine that friends brought over like a few weeks ago. So it's a Montepulciano from 2016, probably put like a couple blocks down my house. But there's like some decent wine stores.
Montepulciano is like, no laughing matter. That's a good choice. It's like a little light bodied, but like got some tannins like going on, right? Something like that. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to throw some words out there.
More into the earthy.
Those funky things.
But yeah, it's pretty good. It's doing what it's supposed to do right now, which is wind me down after a long day of launch.
Indeed. Well, it is a little later for you guys too. So let me just make sure we're good. Yep. And by the way, if anybody has questions, comments, anything else you guys want to know, there is a chat over on the right side. You guys can leave a message. I'm going to be making a variation. Actually, I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet. Of a pisco sour. So Jason actually reminded me of this book, which is an amazing book. It's the Meehan's Bartender's Manual. And in it, I found the pisco sour. And so I'm going to be making a pico sour. I don't have a pico glass or anything, so I'm still going to, make it look like a normal cocktail. But I don't think I've ever made one of these before. But just last week, I got into pisco. And so I'm like really excited. I have two of them right now. And if you haven't tried pisco, I don't know even how to describe it. So I have these two.
And it's not easy to find, right? I've tried looking for pisco before, and
it's
not
quite
every
rare.
shop necessarily has it.
No, I originally thought it was like a kind of a sweet, like mixer kind of thing. Like I got this weird, I don't want to call it shit, but this like Italicus stuff, and it's very sweet, very syrupy. It's a beautiful bottle, but like it's kind of useless. It tastes like bergamot, which is a little bit like, it smells like you're drinking a hipster or something. But anyways, yeah. So I'll be making that. And the thing that I wanted to figure out was like what I should mix with this thing. So maybe I should make one first and then figure out how that tastes. And then, because I was gonna make it purple, because I have this I have this amazing Empress gin. Check this out. I have this like Empress gin, and this Empress gin is like it's literally purple, and it's made with you can kind of see it there, with pea shoots or pea flowers. And that's where it gets the color from. So I was like,
that's a very strange gin, but my view, it's very interesting.
You've had it. You don't like it? It sort of smells like aftershave.
Yeah, but it might go perfectly with pisco, so may as well give it a shot.
I don't think it will. I think I need to do something a little bit different. I was thinking actually, so I got this one, which is a little bit better from a cocktail shop down the street. I can't even pronounce it. It's something, but it's like rose. So I thought rose, something soft. Yeah, that might be nice. So I might just do a little bit of that. Okay, anyways.
Yeah, don't feel compelled to go with the purple color. We appreciate it. But
yeah, well, so I'm going to make a pico sour. That's what I'm doing. So why don't you guys like get into like the design conversation while I'm trying to mix some stuff here. I'm going to be doing a dry shake, and we can just, go from there. But Nick, what are you drinking? What do you got over there?
Jason and I are on the same page.
Oh, Negronis?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you guys using any specific type of gin or any specific vermouths or just whatever?
Interesting you should ask. I did bring my
oh my god.
So this is
is that Capoletti? No, it's not, but it's
and everyone we are going to talk about Pico branding in a moment. But this is very important. So the sort of aperitivo scene, and not like those like millennial aperitivo spritz stuff.
Okay.
Like real, like Brooklyn aperitivo.
With Brooklyn.
Yeah. So this is Saint Agrestis, which is organic, and it's a Campari alternative. If you don't, and so I love Campari, especially like the vintage Camparis. But the problem is that they use red food coloring now, which instead of
it's like vampire's blood, man. Right, this is the Aperol, but
that's Aperol, but basically the same. And so this is made by a guy named there you go. If you can get your hands on vintage Campari, it's absolutely it tastes very much like Puta Mess almost. Anyway, so this is delicious and made in Brooklyn by a guy named Louis, and he makes some really delicious Amaro. And then a friend, the chef at Rucola in Brooklyn, if you know that, has left Rucola to also make Campari and Amari, and they're shipping that out. It's very hard to get in California right now, so I'm eager to try it. So anyway, that's my Negroni with an orange wedge, as one is supposed to do in Italy. Well, so that's what I'm drinking, and Nick makes good Negronis too. I know for a fact. So. But
what's in yours?
Without
what's
the
in yours,
story,
Nick?
perhaps I don't know.
I regret to inform you, I do not have vintage Campari. I have food coloring Campari.
Well, we can't all be perfect,
Yeah,
it's a work in progress.
The aperitivo I'm using though is something I found through Jason. It's the Colchirosa.
Oh.
Do you remember that, Jason?
Maybe.
Okay.
He's like, no. Okay.
Anyway.
Right, now we know what we're drinking. We're putting the cocktails into design, designing cocktails. That's the idea.
I will say, just as another brief aside, is that the craft ginseng in California is actually extremely interesting, and there's a lot of really interesting like California botanical based gins. If you happen to be in California and searching, especially I search for organic gins. And so anyway, that's kind of a fun journey I've been on.
One that I found recently. This one's like made right down the street. It's called Automatic Gin, and this one's actually made with oysters. How you like that, huh?
What? I don't know that one. That sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's distilled uptown. It's pretty cool. They do rich like that. St. George is up here too.
St. George, yeah.
Anyways, okay.
All right.
I feel like, given all this beautiful branding that we're seeing, it's probably a good segue to talk about the Pico rebrand first before we talk about the UI design, perhaps. I would love that. I would love to just get a sense for like where you guys were before, with the brand, how that came to be, again, just like as a little bit of a tour, and then where you're at now. Like, I mean, the font's beautiful, like the design's beautiful, or however you want to like, tee it up. Feel free. Well, so I'll let Rodolphe kind of tell the story of our new logo, but I can provide some historical context. Mm-hmm. And that context is, if there's any rule about how many times a company is allowed to rebrand, we've probably broken it.
Which rebranding is this? Is this like 5, 6?
This is number 4, I think. This is our fourth logo.
In how many years?
About as many years. I think this is the problem when I've been the only designer on the team, and there's no one to check me. I have absolute power, and so if one
also
day I
absolute
feel like,
dissatisfaction.
Oh, of course, designers are never satisfied, and so some days, Jason knows, I'll look at our logo and go, it's time for a new one. And the thing about branding is that it's so hard to create something that is truly timeless. It is there is a bit of a fashion component to it, and you can bet we definitely played into some trends with our most recent rebrand. But I think that's also kind of that's the designer itch that's always there.
How much are you influenced by kind of like contemporary trends and like what's going on? Because like it does seem like there's a vibe, like there's clearly a vibe, out there, and it almost feels deterministic. It's sort of like you have to play in that space, but then everything starts to look the same. You got like the serif font, and then you've got like something else, and it's like super chunky and kind of weird. And I don't know. I gotta say, like the whole Brooklyn vibe is definitely like upon us.
The whole world has been Brooklynified.
Seriously.
There was this great article a few years back. I forget which publication. They found this term to describe what we're talking about here, where basically every coffee shop from the Americas to China to Scandinavia, wherever you go, in every big metropolitan city, there is that coffee shop or that type of coffee shop, which is the same.
Wasn't it like Air Design or
It's
something
so
like that?
true. Even in Paris,
Yeah.
they started copying the subway tile. And you know,
Oh
you know, as a kid,
totally,
you
100%.
used to go to the cafe and you would have your espresso on the zinc, and now you have like the Americano style type of like, you know, takeaway coffee shops. It's true. Like Brooklyn is a global brand essentially now.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. It's like pants that kind of look like they're from the 80s.
Well, and it's like I have such mixed feelings about it because I have to admit I do enjoy that atmosphere of those coffee shops.
Wait. So
It
can we
is quite
see?
nice.
Can we see the old logo? Let's see the old logo. Let's like.
Oh,
come on.
oh man. Okay. I'll pull one.
I'll do some dry shaking to distract the people.
As this relates to startup branding, though, I think for similar reason, I've always felt like we have to go against the grain. It just feels wrong to do what every other startup is doing, whether that's the logo style or the illustration style. And you know, we've tried to resist it when we could. It's tough. You know, there was a time when you really couldn't be a startup unless you used Proxima Nova as your font. I'm glad those days are over. But
it was probably before your time. But you remember Rotus, or like Rotus Semi Sans? That was like the font.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
If you Google it, you'll find it. It was everywhere. It was a good one.
Here's what I'm doing right now. I'm pulling up a pre-seed.
Oh boy. Deck. Oh yes. We're going deep, guys. We're going deep.
Yeah.
The Negroni's starting to hit. I can tell. He's starting to feel a little more generous. Open up.
Oh, look at this. I'm seeing an old folder called Old Pitch Decks. That's the name of the folder. Old Pitch Decks.
You're gonna share that screen soon. We gotta see something here.
Jean just joined us, and when we saw Jean like a few hours ago, the bar was empty over his head.
Oh, you had to go like get some supplies.
Yes, I totally had.
Wow, you totally did.
I had to restock.
That's a Zoom. That's a Zoom background. That's definitely a Zoom background.
Oh, Jean, that looks great.
So did you mix it? You missed our whole little mix thing there. What are you drinking, John?
I'm just drinking bourbon neat.
Oh, okay.
Keeping it very simple. It's Willet.
Oh, Willet. Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Pot distilled. Great. Okay. Oh, now I'm looking at Nick's screen. Wow. Is that an orange wash? It's an orange.
Yes.
I kind of like that.
Yes. You know what? Okay, look, I have to, you know, Jason, maybe you feel differently. If micropayments had worked out, I think we had the brand pretty spot on. It was called Penny Pass. It was a copper. It was a copper color, but copper.
Wow, that's okay. I get it.
Right? Yeah, and copper, pure copper is a little too much, so we dialed it down, and it's a bit more orange than what a real copper is.
It's warm. It's got some warmth to it.
It's a little bit warmer than an actual copper color. We got the domain pennypass.com. Like the brand was set. It was all good to go.
It's pretty good.
And then micropayments didn't work out. And of course the name Penny Pass is so micropayments driven. So
and I'll just say that when we switched away from Penny Pass to Pico, we changed to like I guess if we're electric purple now, it's sort of an electric green. I guess the Pico.
I'll pull that up.
But I was devastated when Nick took the color away. And it was all Nick. Let's be honest. I had no say in this.
Right. Of course not.
You can tell by his backdrop versus mine who the designer is. And so, but I love that copper so much. I had dreams of like the office coffee bar that would be like all copper themed with like actual copper.
Nice. Yeah, actual copper.
I know, right? And I see. And
it would turn green over time as you guys aged as a startup, right?
So that's what happened.
I didn't even think about that.
Deck. There you go.
Wow! Look at that one. Wow.
So this came after that. It went from the copper penny pass to this green Pico.
And by the way, Nick designed this font for the word mark. This was not so. Nick has a backup career potentially. Although if there's any
typographer,
no,
I mean that's when I worked at Whole Foods, we once paid an agency like something like $50K just for like 6 letters on the font in a custom font, just for like one brand campaign. It was pretty great.
Tell you how much Google paid to design their own fonts for Open Sans.
Yeah.
Open Sans as an open
imagine.
font that anyone can use was a very expensive purchase. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we went from that Pico you see there to then when we announced our seed raise back in 20.
I like that. Like every raise is like a new design.
I know. See that
Your
again,
investors are like,
fine.
wait, I don't. Which company is this again? I don't remember this. I got to get some ice.
You know what we're doing? We're giving people who come along the journey pieces of nostalgia that they can claim that they were a part of, right? Like, oh, I was there when their logo looked like this. But with our 2019 announcement, we introduced this symbol for the first time. Up until that point, really, we were just working with a word mark, but for the first time we had a brand mark.
You should mint those old designs as NFTs and give them to your early investors, and then they'll be valuable.
Oh God, not a bad idea.
All right.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna share the deck from our seed raise. It's interesting because you see this brand mark that I'm talking about, but you're also going to see a color scheme that we never showed to the public. It was only for the fundraising deck, and it didn't go anywhere.
Love it. I love it.
Here's an exclusive. This is what was this, late 2018?
Coral.
Yeah, the coral.
Coral,
It was a
wow.
coral color.
Oh, yeah. The
Let me tell you,
Salesforce for media. Wow, it's sort of like the Uber for X, right? But I've never seen Salesforce for media.
Everything about this slide is so bold.
It was like a coral and eggplant combination.
Wow,
I made a cameo.
A drop
You
shadow.
see? Look at
Is
that.
that's your arm, huh?
It's definitely not my arm. too much Negroni.
Sure? Yeah, we've had a lot of different.
But Nick,
looks.
go back to the logo on the first page, on slide 1.
You guys are
Because
still
I
using
think-
the same shape, right?
Well, not as of today, which I think
right.
Rodolphe will walk.
You got to
us
fix
through,
your favicon then.
And that's
yeah,
your browser cache. But yes.
I see. Okay.
But although that reminds me of an April Fool's joke so one thing designers, I assume this is wide practice. I don't know. I know we do it internally, but we use different color favicons for every one of our like staging, prod,
that makes
etc.
sense. Yeah, that's smart.
so that our developers. So
That's very smart.
So there's a hack for everyone. So we have like Pico yellow, Pico purple, Pico green, red, etc. But this logo was designed when Nick and I lived together.
It's
for a couple of years.
it's a ski boot upside down, right? That's what it is.
And yeah, an ice skate. There you go, an ice skate on its side.
Or that. Yeah. Okay.
No, actually, so we were trying to do two things, which was we thought the universal symbol for Pico, if Pico went the crypto route and minted its own currency, would be
that was ambitious.
Would be well. We had some investors who were eager for that, and we thought it was going to go the the pilcrow, which is the name for the paragraph symbol. Because it's on every
pilcrow. The pilcrow is like that, and like the M dash and the mid dot.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love those guys.
Beautiful symbols, and we thought that the pilcrow was both an allusion to sort of the first vertical that we were helping build infrastructure to monetize, which is writers. And so we thought it was a great illusion. And then we said, could we make the pilcrow kind of like a P, right? Like Pico, and it looks like a reverse P. And then we were thinking, well, we are in the audience development business. We are in the marketing funnel business. And so we turned the P of the pilcrow into a funnel. And then someone pointed out that it looks also like we have a credit card swipe, kind of like.
I feel like this was like a
payments.
series of like super stone meetings where you guys like we must go deeper. By the way, I want to show you like see like this is what's in the guide, right? And like this is my oh, you're not gonna be able to see it. Let me see if I can pull this up because I feel like this is what
Hey,
happened.
it looks good.
No, it's horrible.
Nice.
No,
That looks
great. That's great.
amazing.
All right, cheers.
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 Cheers, indeed. And if for all of you watching, cheers to you as well.
That's right.
You can leave comments if you're drinking anything interesting.
That's true. Yeah, that would be
oh,
great.
hey, Matt Monday. There you are.
Actually, the Favicon talk reminds me the team pulled quite the April Fool's prank on me last year. Soon after the pandemic started, very new to working from home. It had only been a few weeks. And so for the first time, and we had never all been working from home like that. And so for the first time, each team member was isolated to a distinct IP address. And so on April Fools, they isolated my IP address. They asked me, "Hey, what's your IP address?" Like, I was totally clueless. I thought it was
we're just testing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, it turns out they did that so that they could change all the Pico favicons just for my IP address when I went to any Pico property. And so they reverted it to the old penny pass, that copper penny pass logo.
Oh, wow.
And of course, in the middle of the day, I start freaking out. I'm like, wait. How
Guys, what's going on?
Where did this asset come from?
Oh, man, that sounds like PTSD right there.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a good segue to Rodolphe showing us our new brand mark, which we're extremely excited about.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us back through memory lane here.
Yeah, we tried, but so Nick did make this he drew this logo, and I still think that it's incredibly impressive considering that Nick's not a professional logo designer. He's like me,
design generalist.
He's an amateur co-founder, and so it's such an impressive. I was so impressed by that logo, and apparently it's off center or something like that. I don't know. He always is griping
by it. I call it a one-legged logo.
Like, what does that even mean?
Well, because I could center it. If you snap it to center, it actually is perceived as being off center. So that I would always have to snap it to center and then manually shift it so that I felt like it was centered.
Yeah, it has like this perpetual look of like being off balance.
Right.
And it's like,
it's like the shapes. It's like the weight in the shapes.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like a move, a perpetual movement.
Yeah.
Except in this case, it was moving backwards, not forward. So
even worse. And that's a bad idea.
The drunk logo.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So where are we at now? What do you got for the logo?
Let's talk about the new logo. Rudolph, share the recent history.
Let me project. So, to go with the seminal pandemic question, can you see my screen?
Yes,
we can.
Are you serious? Did you just a phone call?
Yes.
Okay, but
Told you. We told
every
you.
time.
You're
right.
Every video, there's no exception to the rule.
It's
really,
like,
Jason's just like he's actually a pizza delivery guy, and
I've got the operator switches underneath the desk here.
It's like, hold on, guys, I got to go deliver pizza.
If there were a
Pico
Pico, like a Pico meeting bingo card.
Yes,
that's a good one.
Bingo. All right.
So Pico, the new logo. Am I full? Can you see the presentation, or is it full screen, or do you?
We see your whole screen, Rodolphe.
You can go full screen. We do not see it full screen though.
I see.
There you go. Now it's good. Perfect.
So for this iteration of the logo, before the next one, we decided to work with a professional logo designer. His name is Shehan Abrahams. I don't know if someone wants to pin his website.
How do you spell that?
I'll do that here.
Nick should have the website. Shehan is S-H.
Yeah, I got it. I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shehan
I got
is
it too.
essentially a friend of a friend, and he worked on a number of high-profile brands and some well-known restaurants of New York. The mission we gave to Shehan was pretty challenging because we did like a quick sprint. This was done in a matter of days and with a pretty limited number of iterations. But what we were trying to achieve with Pico is to sort of like step away from this obvious reference to the Pilcrow, which was kind of like tying us into the world of text, the written world. And while we want to keep serving writers, journalists, and all kinds of text-based creators, for lack of a better expression, we also want to appeal to other types of creators. So we started focusing on the idea of building blocks and Legos, thinking, Pico to some extent is providing building blocks to creators who want to be independent. With Pico, you can do email collection, you can do landing pages, you can do subscription paywalls, you can do memberships, you can do paid newsletters, online courses, etc., etc. So it's like a toolkit essentially, or a box of Legos that you can sort of organize the way you want, depending on the nature of your audience, your community, or what you're trying to achieve. So that was like one of the concepts that we liked. The other concept was this idea of creating the operating system for creators, the operating system for the creator economy, creator businesses, whatever you want to call it. And since we have a number of Apple fanboys on the team, we couldn't help ourselves but think of Paul Rand and Jobs' next logo. And so we wanted to find some sort of bridge between those two ideas, the cube and the storytelling of the operating system of the personal computer era and the operating system of this new era of the internet economy, the creator economy. So this is, the maybe I think 5, 6, 7 different ideas that Shehan got back to us with. And the first one was actually the one that we ended up choosing, which Shehan called the extrusion, which is, an obvious nod to tech history and this exploration of the Lego or building block concept. So this is the new logo, and you can see, how we can sort of like play with it. There's this P in the background, which is shaped by the form of the cube. There is an arrow, also kind of like hidden in the logo, the square. So there is all those different dimensions that we really liked, and it felt like something that's simple, that is an obvious reference to Next, but also something that we can own. So this is essentially the logo that we decided to go for. I'm gonna keep going unless you guys want to.
Wait, was there another exploration, or did he just like hit on the first shot?
Well, this was his preferred option, but it took us a few back and forth to actually listen to the guy. So I'm gonna show you. Everything.
It's hard working with professionals, right?
It's like a circle.
Yeah,
it's like
time is a circle.
and
You got to go on the journey,
Exactly.
and then eventually it's like, oh, I see. You did think through all the different combinations.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Part of the
so
process.
The second one that's called layering, which is inspired by early tech systems and themes of elevation, growth, and building. So also one that we liked, of this.
Oh, you guys like combine these? You ended okay. Yep. Keep going.
Yeah. We ended up using this, this idea on the website to highlight some of the titles. But yeah, Shehan actually made this one of the directions for the logo. And you can see here what it would look like on a billboard.
Yeah, if you guys go check out the product hunt today, you'll actually see in their gallery that they're using that treatment for the text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Geometric shapes. So also something that's that's quite common actually in this world of developer tools, operating systems, or just generally speaking, tools that are quite abstract. So also a direction that we wanted to explore with Shehan, utilizing crisp, bold forms, cultivates clean, minimal yet ownable marks. So that's what Shehan suggested with this direction.
Man, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
it's sort of fruits, but not fruit.
Fruits of stone.
Interesting.
You mean stone fruits?
Oh. That was the French translation. Fruit de stone.
Les fruits de pierre.
Oh. Was that fruit of the feet? Okay. Fruit of the loom.
Direction,
Whichever.
which is the internet utilizing glyph symbol to align Pico to internet connectivity. So this one, we're not like completely in love with, but it's pretty obvious.
I mean, if you got p.co, that would be pretty dope. But
Well, let me stop you there. Because, I loved this logo a lot, and because it's completely obvious that if we got, you pronounce this Pico, if you get p.co, and
It's
so
not Pico.
and I think, well, yeah, you could do that too. But actually, I was going to say some of my British friends say, "How's Pico doing?" And I'm like,
no, it's not a pickle.
no, it's not doing, because that's not the name of the company. But if you have p.co, it is very clever, and I was sure you could do something with that. And I also loved the treatment he did in the example slide next. But I was persuaded. I just thought this was like, this is just the best. But I came around. I do.
You know why you like this one more than the other ones? Because of this slide and the fact that the tagline is yours.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's 101 psychology.
Yeah.
I love this.
Bias. Oh,
It's
I
crazy
see
when I-
myself in this. Oh, it's way
when I
better.
saw-
Way better.
When I saw this execution of this, actually, like the first thing that came to my mind was like, this kind of looks like an e-cigarette like brand.
It's
Oh,
totally
yeah.
Pax. Definitely Pax. That maybe it might even be hymns.
Yeah, it's kind of what it looks like a little bit.
Jason, what else do you want to tell us?
Rodolphe, I'm just now realizing that I kind of like that one too. But when I was looking at it just now, I was like, wait, something feels really off that I didn't notice before. I think if you go back to the /C, the C chose to have the C at angles that are just completely different from the I angle.
Yeah, they're different. And actually, like, it's not a circle. Like inside of the C,
Right.
it looks than the O.
It's a little organic looking, and I think that's now messing with me. I wonder if this logo would actually benefit from having a really clean C that's like no nonsense,
Like the Coinbase C that they just launched today.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, I'll send you guys a link.
Been a little preoccupied with another company's launch.
Yeah, there was some news today. Coinbase.
I heard they did okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fifth direction platform, employing perspective to symbolize Pico as a foundation to elevate entrepreneurs. This one also we didn't pick in the end, and I think there wasn't maybe so much enthusiasm or support behind it, but the idea is obvious. It's really still the building.
I thought it was like a flag.
Supporting.
Like without the square, it's actually hard to see the shape.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe it's just me.
Yeah. I think it was maybe there's too much room for interpretation.
Yeah, the P and the top doesn't actually align, and so it seems like if it's the side of a box, it was kind of like slapped on. Okay, it does there, but in the next one it does not. And then it's really bad because basically that says ICO, and we know no one wants to do an ICO. By the way, when are you guys planning on launching on bus facades? Like, because that seems very important to this whole campaign for all of them.
Chris, that's the future. That's really.
I see.
That's where all
that's the real creator
and
economy.
most ambitious
when
creators
living
are
in the
waiting.
metaverse. Right, when we're in the metaverse and there's ads everywhere, and it's like Minority Report, we'll see Pico ads.
It's when you're waiting half an hour for a New York MTA bus like, man, I need to change what I'm doing. Something's not right here.
I really want to create
Stretch
without
up,
compromise, and I feel
Right.
so boxed in. And I really want to go to a company that has a logo based on a box. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this one we liked when Shehan presented originally. The idea is super simple, powering creators and using the power symbol as the O in Pico.
Also very much like a e-cigarette. It's like hard not to see it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
Okay.
And
back to the classic.
Still, at the time, we couldn't completely let go of the Pilcrow. There was like some sort of like, withdrawal symptoms. So we did, explore alternatives to our Pilcrow. This one also definitely looks like ICO. Very hard to read.
Yeah.
This one maybe
Pisco.
more like
That one's very
Roman.
Pisco.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to see how you guys ended up where you ended up.
Mm-hmm.
The summary, and what was interesting about this presentation is that Shehan decided to include alternates.
Oh wow. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that was kind of like the beginning of a longer exploration where we decided that some of those options were actually quite interesting, including the ones that looked
very much like Nest. Nest? No, Next.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we decided to actually mix, the top of direction 2 with the bottom of direction 1 here, and to do a tilted version of this logo. And we ended up surveying the team and asking them to choose between, this version of Pico with actually an eye that was centered and not just like on the side like this, and the one that we ended up choosing. And, against all our expectations, the team massively voted for Shehan's number 1 choice.
Rodolphe, do you have that Next logo? That
Here, I put it in the chat. But go to the chat. You can, unless you have it handy.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's the Next logo. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
you
can see the Y in it too, which we currently have in our logo, which is.
If you go to the Super Pure chat, you'll see it. Oh,
there you go.
There we go.
Oh, that's nice. I like,
Yeah, PNG.
Hey, we need to get you on Alfred, don't we, Chris?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Love.
I may have to do another Super Pure stream about that. I feel like I've been learning many things. Oh, you have Text Buddy. Oh, we can be friends now. We can be friends.
Redeemed. You saw in that brief flash just now, but like, I really liked that Next. I think I now realize it was too much like Next. But
yeah, you guys would have been explaining the whole time, like, wait, isn't this just Next? This feels very Austin to me.
It's Next meets Twitch.
Yeah, especially the color. Mm-hmm.
Next meets Twitch meets IDEO. And I say IDEO because it is so distinct to have those strong, prominent bars on the eye. I only know of IDEO and IBM as big brands that have done that. Most eyes don't have those bars, and I love those bars. I
know. Yeah,
it's like there's so much character there. So it's fun, but like this it ended up. I now understand. I was like so enamored with this at the time. I now understand this is almost too playful, too gamer-like, and didn't kind of convey that really the seriousness of what we've built. This idea that we are essentially an operating system. Like this is more like a gaming console.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, just like to keep in mind that I don't know if it's which one it is, if it's Twitch or Xbox, but where that style and then like you overlay, I think the buttons of the joystick on top. And so like the shape affiliation to me is just kind of unmissable. And when you're talking about creators, right? Especially anybody who's going to be using, live streaming, whether it's on Twitch or elsewhere. I think that association is going to be a little bit too like on the nose. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I feel like we've gone through like the whole like logo process. What, like, do you have other aspects in terms of the application of that brand, right? Because you guys have some stuff in the gallery today on Product Hunt. You guys can show that if you want. I don't know if you have other designs that, I mean, like the homepage looks great.
Yeah, maybe Jean can share our website, because I know Jean and Nick have been deep in there. And there's a very bold decision to go with all black, which I was originally very in favor of, right, team? Oh. And then I was like, you guys do your thing. And I'm very, very happy.
I don't know that part of the company.
I will say the blog homepage with Rodolphe's article as the first article there, and the Pico logo without the word mark attached to it, which is hard to come across because we don't make that available technically, is I'm really excited about. But anyway.
All right. Who's showing stuff?
Yeah.
And
John,
did we lose Rodolphe, or he's getting another drink?
Yeah. I mean, like, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Oh yeah, we can hear you. Your video's off.
Okay, yeah, I lost the camera. I'm not sure why, but okay. I can't.
Try refreshing. You should be able to get back in.
Okay.
You should have hit block.
Nick, do you think the best thing to share is the website? I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but
I mean, let's start there. Like, I've got stuff on the product that I can share, but we can talk through the site.
Let's see.
Meanwhile, I'm going to pour. I have to tell everyone about.
This is the Koval,
which is the Koval bourbon whiskey.
Wait, put that up to the camera, because now you're losing your light. So okay.
Yeah, I got it.
There we go. That's good.
Koval
Chicago
whiskey. And so they also make a millet whiskey, 100% millet. This one is 49% corn. Sorry, 51% corn, 49% millet. And I don't know, how is it, guys? I've sent bottles to basically all y'all.
I haven't gotten a bottle. Where's my bottle?
Yeah, Chris, yours is coming.
Okay.
I basically have cases sent here in California because it's the only one I drink. I can't. I've discovered.
How does the bourbon and the millet like differ? Is like the millet hotter or
no?
What?
It rounds it out.
It's milder. Oh, really?
And I just put a splash of water in, and
it just opens it up a bit.
It's the most sippable, delicious, smooth whiskey. Yeah.
I have a rare one for you also, which you might, I don't know, be interested in. This one, this one's called, it's Chaka Smoke. It's made by Seven Stills. Seven Stills is a San Francisco distillery, and they make some really, really great things. This is one of their sort of stranger ones, but it's very chocolatey and like very delicious and just like super drinkable. So it's a little bit, it's not like a pure expression like what you got there, but it's, it's nice. It's kind of, it's a very dark. What is that?
Well, what's interesting about the millet, this is 100% millet, is that I use this I don't drink it neat. I use it as a substitute for rye whiskey in cocktails.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the proof?
It's 40% alcohol, so 80 proof. This one's a little hotter. This one's, what is 47 times 2?
90
whatever that is.
More. It's more. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's more.
That's why I don't put water in this one. But so that's my advertisement for Koval. It's great people in Chicago running it. Like really great people, great distillery. Cool. Anyway.
Spokesman at this person. I feel like
I'm pretty sure
so many people.
Right when I started at Pico, I was out in the Bay Area. My girlfriend is from Berkeley, and I met up with Jason, and I'm pretty sure he told me about Koval then.
Before you,
this is jam, man. It's
what I'm realizing now. This is long overdue. We need a Jason bingo card.
Phone call,
landline ringing.
Yeah, right.
Mentioning yeah.
And by the way, anybody who's tuning in and just listening to us yammer on, if you guys have any questions or whatever, feel free, drop it in the chat. Let us know. If you want to come up and join us and say hello, you can also put that in the chat. And we can invite you up.
If you have ideas about our logos we didn't choose. Feel free. Feel free.
No, it's too late. It's too late for that.
Any feedback?
I'm assuming you guys
Okay.
can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
I really like
Bingo,
hate this
bingo, I
feature
got
where
it.
it's like I can't see people while my
You're good.
moving
You're good.
shared.
Just go with it.
But yeah, I think around the time that I came on board, they were pretty far along in the rebrand process, and trying to figure out sort of how we're gonna get that into onto our site. I, like Jason, at first, in my head, I was like, wait, just like a page is just like completely black, just seems like, for the most part, seems like it'd be too much. But once I actually put my eyes on it,
Do you have what it was before, like pre 2.0 brand?
I could probably open it in Webflow.
Webflow, yeah. We still
That's
have it in
fine.
Webflow.
Cool.
Where I have
should
where
we
I have
use the
lives.
Wayback Machine? That would be kind of fun on Pico.
That might be a little too offensive. Wait, there it is, right there. Because you guys had a bunch of like little cartoon characters. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. There was a point at which there were cartoon characters, but as we were nearing, launching the new brand, we wanted to start slowly moving away from that a little bit. But this was more or less sort of the old site.
Got it.
But yeah, and
Cool. That's helpful.
And so, one of the things that, going with this sort of really dark motif we had to figure out is, fortunate that this font. So we're using this font called Sombra, which has like incredible personality. Right. Yeah. It's like Nick and I were talking about how it's like a font meant for like graphic design and not really for web use. It works really well when it's at really large sizes. Mm-hmm. And it works really well against the black. Come to realize. And so really sort of
creates its
mixing
own drop shadow almost, right? I think that's what's interesting about it.
And we really just wanted to simplify. My own design aesthetic is like pretty minimalistic. There's been there were a whole bunch of things we're still planning for the site that is not up yet. And so some of this stuff was us trying to like scrap up to get the site ready for launch. But
where do all those icons come from? Those look like those are custom.
I kind of just like roughly put them together like the day before yesterday or something. I've lost all track of time. But we were kind of roughly trying to think of ideas that communicated to this point. And I think we're gonna like most things we're gonna do, we're gonna iterate on these as we continue to iterate on the site, on the homepage especially. There's a lot more sort of an illustration style that goes more in line with our logo and the brand and the feel that that we're trying to go for. And Rudolph can talk to you a little bit about that we're still trying to iterate towards. But no,
I want to ask though, because there's a lot of Illustrator resources out there, right? That you can get off the shelf. They come in SVG. You can mix and match. Are you guys gonna do your own, build your own? Because I feel like it's one of those things where, and I've gone through this process of picking and choosing from 15 different icon fonts or whatever, and I'm like, this is not really a great idea. But on the other hand, developing your own assets is very time consuming, very expensive. So for other people that are trying to think about this is a design challenge, how are you guys approaching this? It seems like you guys have some native talent within the team that could do this stuff, but in terms of prioritization, where does it sit?
I mean, I will say quickly before and then I kick it off to Rudolph and Nick to answer that question. I mean, as much as I love designing illustrations, it's definitely not my skill set. So I think we'll probably still need, going to need sort of an illustration library that's, really built out. And I think one of the challenges I've found is for what we're trying to go for, it's actually really hard to find sort of, ready-made iconography and illustrations that actually capture it pretty well. So we almost do need to sort of create something of our own, but Rudolph and Nick can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, the reason why we wanted to do original illustration is because we were really trying to build some sort of identity that was distinctive for Pico. Because Pico is a tool for professional creators, because we want to be able to stand out and sort of own, the category king position for professional creators who want to build independent businesses. It felt like we needed to stand out visually as well. So we thought maybe the best way to do that is to go find the right artist who's going to be able to translate the vision that we have for the brand into illustration. And at this point, we haven't found that exactly, but we've made some progress. And I think over the next few weeks and months, we'll be able to add illustration to the site and make this a little bit more lively, even though the design that Jean put together is working extremely well. Yeah, illustration wise, maybe like a lot of other things in design, like it feels like a lot of startups are kind of like following each other. Where we found some inspiration is actually looking at what Cash App does, what Notion does, what MailChimp does, what Robinhood does to some extent, and maybe you don't see all the the common points between those different brands, but essentially it's illustration. A lot of the examples I gave are monochromatic. Some of them are abstract. Some of them play with geometric shapes. Some of them clearly play with the idea of creation. And one common point maybe between all of those is the illustration creates this sense of the brand is a world of itself that you wanna that you want to be part of. So that's what we wanted to be able to achieve with the website. Also keeping in mind that we're doing like professional software, so we can't feel and look like a science fiction comic. So we have to find like a kind of a tricky balance between something that may be looking a little bit like a riff on vaporwave and pop art, and at the same time feel like a professional software company for creators.
Got it.
And
cool.
Yeah, as far as what we might be able to provide in advice to startups just getting started, it is really difficult to find a UI kit, a UI icon library that has all of the symbols you're going to need. I've worked on too many projects to count at this point. I've never found an icon library that has every symbol. And if that library exists, it's probably one that every startup is using, and then you get into that problem we were talking earlier in this conversation about where everything looks the same, right? So Jean and I have this icon library that we managed, which has, I don't know how many things are in there, like probably more than 100 icons, or I don't know, maybe somewhere in that ballpark. A lot of icons that made from scratch, and it's very consistent style. But that is for UI, for marketing, for illustration. What Rodolphe is talking about, I mean, it's a different beast, and really, I mean, there's a similar motivation for doing it ourselves, whether that's hiring to do it or doing it in house. But there's a similar motivation there. But I think there's a more strategic gain from it. We're doing it also to stand out for distinction. Whereas with the UI icons, there is just some utility you need to satisfy, right? I need to convey whatever action this is. I just need that, right?
What is like tactically, like what is the process like between you guys, like on the team, for managing on the one hand, like the illustrations and like that look and feel from the icons, and then what are you guys doing internally to organize your assets and your resources?
I like how you're asking that question, because it's assuming we figured it out.
It is not. It's more like, hey, shoot me this thing over Slack or something. Like, hey, can I pull these SVGs off your website or something? Like,
look, I know, like everything we've shown you today, especially the site that Jean just walked you through. This is raw. We are currently I mean, he talked about Sombra, what we like about it and what might be challenging about it. We are still figuring out how to use Sombra, right? I think we're still struggling in some scenarios where, gosh, it just doesn't look good when it's small. It almost always has to be gigantic, right? We are, and this logo that Shahan created, beautiful. Like, we're all bought into it now. Guess what? It's really square. Well, that's not what we designed 2.0 to look like, because 2.0 we're modeling after the latest Mac OS version, which is extremely rounded. So all the buttons have an exaggerated corner radius, 8 pixels. So now there's a question. I mean, you can see it right here where John's sharing his screen. Join the wait list, right? These buttons are rounded.
Yeah.
Does that work with these square cutoffs? I don't know. So we're still figuring these things out as we go.
And believe it or not, on this site, I actually reduced the border radiuses of all these buttons because I was like, this was about like as round as I could stand with the new brand. So otherwise, because it does clash a little bit. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like it's a little bit tricky finding a balance between sort of like, you know, when we're talking about sort of the brand you have for the company, right? It's bigger than just the product itself, even though it is most of the product, and the UI of the product itself, which I don't necessarily always think need to be one-to-one, but they do need to feel like when I go from here into, you know, the actual software, like I'm going from the same place into the same place. It might look a little bit different.
I'm gonna push you on this because like they're like I'm gonna share the Dropbox brand like guidelines, and I would say that they're
really good.
I mean they're good, but they also demonstrate this exact tension. I would say it's a tension, which is they chose this like beautiful like product font, and it felt like it was designed very much in isolation. And they were like, "Hey, designers, go smoke some weed and like come up with something that you really love." And then the engineers are like, "Okay, we're just gonna like do whatever kind of like works like on the web." And on the one hand, okay, I get it. Like maybe by like 2026, like, you know, when, you know, we've got 5G everywhere and, you know, variable fonts and like all this other stuff, like everything's adaptive and it's beautiful and it just kind of AI is taking care of all the edge cases. But you see the problem with like this font that they chose, which is like this super wide kind of chunky, like it's great, but totally impractical. And so you guys are experiencing this already, and you literally just launched today. And the reason why I say you literally launched today and you're having this problem is because when I go into your dashboard, I mean, to John's point, like I am not seeing consistency between what's on the homepage and kind of like what's inside the house. So, or like the front door, you know, and I enter in and I'm like, this isn't the bar that I thought I was going into. Where's the Brooklyn pants? You know, I want those like 80s like stonewashed jeans. You know, like what happened? I'm back in JCPenney. So like help me understand like one, how are you gonna like adapt this design that you guys have now to a future where everything is a little more cohesive, and then walk me through kind of like what that flow or what that, I guess, sequence is gonna look like.
Yeah, well, it's we don't have the answer right now. It's just something that we're aware of, and we need to figure out over time, right? Like I don't know, because the thing is the UI has taken a year to develop. It's an incredible complex product that we're trying to pack into just a few different views, and that like that look and feel was honestly set in stone way before we had this logo. So there's there's a bit of a House and Senate situation here. It's like, okay, all right. And then how do we reconcile this? I don't know. Now the Dropbox thing is interesting. I mean, they even have their own site, Dropbox.design. Right?
I know.
It's like they're living in a completely different universe. We actually talked about Dropbox design when we were figuring out our own branding, when we were talking about as a font. Yeah. Because I was mentioning this to the team. I still distinctly remember. I mean, as designers, we always look at what other are doing all the time, right? Where we have of
course,
in the industry. I remember when Dropbox Design's website came out. I remember when Dropbox unveiled that look where they had all these different color combinations, which looked like they belonged in the MoMA and not on a software website.
We were in Williamsburg on the was it Metropolitan Stop subway platform, and the Dropbox ad showed up on those 3 screens across the way.
Yeah.
Remember this? And it was like, wow, that's Dropbox's new brand identity.
It was kind of like a wow. Really? I was just, there were so many different
Nick was like,
emotions
it's time to
going on.
redesign again, guys. We got to redesign.
But it's just interesting how in the few years since that, they kind of helped normalize that crazy wide chunky font, that retro font.
Right.
They allowed us to use Sombra. If Dropbox Design hadn't come along and said, hey, we can do this, I don't think we would have gone with Sombra. It's a very bold choice. But that's a marketing choice, and how that reconciles with UI typography, I don't know.
It's like, you guys figure it out.
Interesting thing to note about the UI typography, by the way, it doesn't even align with the sans serif of the marketing site, which is Inter, by the way. The typography of the dashboard is actually no typography. It is system font, which more and more dashboards are doing now. Like Stripe dashboard does that as well. Sketch does that. So on Apple devices,
yeah, but I mean, like at least on the Mac, you've got like San Francisco, which is like a decent typeface. Sorry, Rodolph was going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that the team also has been changing a lot in the last couple months. So the size of the team has just doubled since December. So and it makes me think of the GIF that John Borthwick from Bellworks has pinned to his Twitter profile. You're like kind of like
the train
making the rails as the train is moving forward. So yeah, it feels like Jean. I think Jean agrees that his area of expertise is UX, and it feels like Nick is more like a generalist on the design side. So maybe we could find someone who's like a UI specialist and also an illustrator that can, help us drive some sort of consistency across, the software and also some of the marketing touching points. So it's not like, this is something that's completely impossible. There's like plenty of people that focus on UI and also doing illustrations. And I think maybe we would go this way short term to do or to create some sort of consistency between all the different assets.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't have an answer to this, but kind of like a question is, should they even be consistent, right? Because they're serving two very different purposes. Marketing is to sell, to attract, and UI is for utility. It's to get a job done.
But I think there is an element of trust, right? There's sort of like, what is on the outside of the bar, and then you go inside the bar, and it's like a totally different style. So I hear you, and I agree with like, you still want a bar, and you still want to like, like we were having this conversation.
It's a story that you're telling to the customer and the user. So there needs to be consistency between the book cover and the story itself.
There you go.
Yes. I think we basically just need dark mode in the product, and then we'll be all set.
I'm guessing you've been arguing for dark mode. Is that what I hear from that?
I mean, I've had everything on my devices at the dark mode for like the last 2 years.
And your eyes are just melting. You're basically saying when we go to Pico. I was bringing this book because Jason pointed out like a really good point, which is that there's actually like the design of a bar in this book. And I think it's really, really interesting to sort of think about that from
is that the Nomad?
But that is the Nomad.
Yeah, that is the Nomad. Yeah, that was the Nomad. Yes.
Oh, I love that place.
So what like I think there's I didn't mean to like bring this full circle, but since we're about an hour now in, like we can have this conversation. But I like all this conversation about branding. I think is super interesting. And again, it's not intentional that I'm in my bar, but I do find that there's like these connections between one of the things I like about having a bar and like, getting into the whole experience world is that you can mix and match and put things together that are a little bit different, a little bit unique, and you can explore and experiment. And what is cool about this book is, as Jason pointed out to me, was, the design of a bar itself is its own exercise in branding and in mood and in kind of a feel. And what's nice about it is that when you come to the outside, especially like New York bars, there's like the door and there's like the door man, typically a man, and like how you feel there, and then how you walk through. There's this great bar, I think it's the 18th Street bar or something. I don't know, it's something over there where it's a little bit speakeasy. It's like a little bit like hidden, and like the whole ambiance and the whole experience is complete. Like
This
it's one.
This isn't Rain's Law Room, is it?
It's no, but that one's good. That one's in isn't that in Portland?
No, Rain's is.
There's the library. There's something library in.
Oh, Rain.
Portland.
Yeah. Rain's yeah. I know what you mean. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on.
Well, so I think it's at 18th Street. I'll like find it and send it to you guys if you haven't been there. It's amazing, and actually it's I think all organic, and all of the spirits come from, I don't know, something like fair trade origin or something. It's very interesting. Regardless, there is a thoroughness that when you are in that space, you feel it. And that to me creates a sense of trust. And when it comes to this like 2.0 launch for you guys, like it feels like for the most part, you've kind of, and I guess I'm thinking about this because I recently went to Bar Agricole in San Francisco, or actually it's no longer Bar Agricole, it's now Californios. And so it's been sold.
Really?
Yeah. And it's completely gutted. So you go inside and it's like where the bar was, it's empty space. And you look to the right and it's a black painted wall and there's nothing. And like, to me, I instantly sort of remember like what it was before, but coming into this new environment and seeing what they're doing with the brand and seeing what they're doing with the food and things like that, like you're starting to see, it's sort of like map reduce, like where you're loading the map in satellite mode and it just starts to like slowly sort of fade in terms of like, the pixelization and the clarity. And I feel like that's where you got brand like process. So I don't think it's sufficient to say, well, if you're inside and you're in the utility part, well, it's going to like feel like you're using like a tool. And then when you're on the outside, it feels like the outside of a bar and you're being seduced. And I know that's not exactly what you're saying, but that is something that someone could take away from this.
Well, yes, actually, it is kind of what I'm saying. And I would argue, though, that I think hospitality retail experiences lean much more toward branding and storytelling than utility at any point. If really you are looking for the most utilitarian dining experience, you would order delivery.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So you go out because you are seeking that experience, even if it's physically inconvenient.
Yeah, but see, the interesting thing for you,
the thing about delivery
go ahead.
is that it is killing the brand of the restaurant,
Right.
and that's why
That's right.
DoorDash and all those delivery service sucks, because they are owning the brand. They're
disintermediating the whole.
Sure. Yes.
So and it's funny, Nick, like I think Rodolph's point is so good, because the whole point about, I think what Pico is trying to assert is that Pico is all about the individual creator owning the relationship with their audience. And the way in which we've gotten to where we are in the realm of whether it's social media or just media in general is to disintermediate through these mass platforms that use the efforts of the creators and the content of the creators. I mean, it's literally called user-generated content, as though it's, millet being, sort of mined, or like put into bourbon, or, breakfast cereal. Doesn't really matter. We're going to put some ads next to it, Whereas from a creator's perspective, I think it's super interesting to think about the quality of that experience, where you're saying you are a creator, you are among a select group of people who are conscious about the work that they're doing and are conscious about the relationship that they're creating with the people who, care about the things that you're producing. And therefore we are creating a white glove kind of experience, or at least the opportunity to create a white glove experience for the people that are patrons of your content, your creation, your creativity, and your contributions. So
one thing I want to add to that really briefly is that when we were really starting early because the brand work, as anyone who's undertaken this kind of brand positioning, is preceded by positioning work. So like we did a lot of careful positioning to try to understand, Nick and I are product people, and we knew the customers we wanted to serve. We knew the go-to-market we wanted to serve, and we kind of knew where we wanted to end up. But I'll be honest, we were having trouble zooming out and seeing the larger opportunity and understanding the narrative of Pico in that opportunity. And it was almost like there's a guy who's not on this call. He probably should be. His name is Fabry Karakowski. And he was go-to-market at Square. He was early at Allen, the French insurance company. He is why we know Rodolphe, so we are very grateful to him. And he was like completely obsessed with Pico when I met him last year. And but he was like seeing things I didn't see. And he saw he saw this narrative that like frankly, like Nick and I saw where we were going, but we didn't see like we didn't see how all the dots connected because we were so focused on like
so close to it,
our ICP at the moment. And so part of like this brand exercise and the UX exercise and the colors and the fonts and the iconography is to try to help our customers understand also their role in the story of what we're doing. And so we tried to engage early on, and it didn't work out, but we engaged some illustrators who were actually like Hollywood illustrators, and like people who have drawn for like Pixar and other animation, basically to say, could you help us like create a world, because the world Pico imagines, the world of the creator economy, once we kind of establish this positioning, is one that's extremely vibrant, where the average quality of content is extremely high because a lot of it is being paid for somehow. It's being monetized well. And so therefore you have just a lot of expertise, a lot of great artistic talent, a lot of creativity. And so it's a vibrant world. And so we want to tell the story that a customer is going to come to Pico and participate in a sort of new storefront, the online storefront, which is having an audience. They're going to build this vibrant world. And we just kind of thought, well, gee, it's like that's the role of an illustrator, to like build this animated world that we can tell.
Do you have those illustrations?
No, we couldn't figure it out.
Didn't come together. Yeah,
we couldn't
hard.
figure. We wanted to do like, do you know Pitch, the slide deck? Yeah,
I do.
We loved their
those
3D
stuff,
sort of, now I think DoorDash has been using them in their TV commercials. We loved that. We were like, oh, maybe we could create a world of that and have like vibrant creators and like this. And it just, we couldn't figure it out. And so we ended up ditching it. But that was a direction that we thought the positioning was taking us. And then when we did the brand exercise, we realized that actually we needed to go more in the direction that we're going now. But anyway, I thought that was sort of interesting in terms of like connecting that top all the way through the bottom. I don't know if the actual designers here have a different take or a more nuanced take on that, but that's how I viewed it, at least from like basically like having sort of arm's length input into that part of the process.
John, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, like from my experience, usually like what I've seen is that like, back in 2014, I was actually at Whole Foods HQ when we did the Whole Foods rebrand, and like the marketing that had been done and like the new face of Whole Foods. The brand campaign was so different from what the UI and any of our digital products were at the time, and so we were kind of like retroactively trying to work to catch that up. So I definitely think that there's probably some iteration we're going to be doing on our product side to get us closer to where the brand is and is going. But I think especially when we think about like sort of the brand and the feel that we're trying to go for, I think there's a lot of things we can do in the product to make them feel connected. But it's not really going to be, this is why I was like, it's not going to be like one-to-one where like I come from the marketing side and go to the product and it's like, it feels like it's like the same thing, but it's like, but it should feel like these two things belong to each other, which I think is a little. Do
you have like 2 to 3 examples of what you want to?
Right. So it could be, right. So it could be simple things as like introducing sort of some more like darker shading in containers in the dashboard, right? So like once we have dashboard and we have data, right, we can really bring that in. It could be like maybe slightly again reducing the radius of our buttons. It could be right. There's things we can do, and especially being conscious of the fact that we're a startup, like things we can do that aren't going to be onerous on engineering, holding us back from actually building more product. But get us closer to the brand we have now and that we're going to continue developing.
Illustrations, by the way, can also too.
Right, exactly.
Oftentimes we have empty states, and empty states or loading GIFs. Those are great opportunities.
I'm in the Pico dashboard, and I have a lot of empty states, and I'm missing some illustrations. So totally. All right, guys, we've been going for quite a while. I think we should wrap. But any other thoughts or things that you want to leave folks with? Any sort of invitations or stuff like that you want people to check out? Obviously I'll post a link to the hunt one more time, in case somehow some people didn't see it. But any other last minute thoughts in terms of what's next and what people can look forward to?
We should start.
Design.
I was gonna say, is there like an ongoing I don't know, like video get together where you drink and talk about design things?
That's my intention with this. So, what I will do is I will make sure to sort of send out invitations to everyone who's been here before. It would be great to have more folks just like showing up for this kind of stuff. And actually, what I would love is for there to be maybe there's like one or two folks who are, showing off or like open for a crit. And then you get like, your 10 minutes, you're explaining something, we're all having some drinks and like having a good time. And that might be like a direction that's going. So I'm happy to facilitate that. That's this is something I'm definitely interested in, set it in. I don't know if I can like figure out a cocktail every time, but I got plenty of fucking ingredients, so why not?
I see all those bitters bottles back there.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I like bought like the whole set. It's kind of insane. These are actually, so there's a couple in here that I can't find. Oh, actually, I'm just gonna cut to the chase on this one. So this is this one. I don't know if you can read that. So this is cannabis bitters, and a friend of mine who I won't name by name was a design manager at Google. He was the designer for something called K10K, which was this old design site back in like the aughts. And anyways, he gave me that from his private collection where he had made it himself, and he was very proud of it. So that was one of my favorite takeaways from my time at Google.
Amazing.
But yeah, so that one's good. Anyways, cool. So we'll do this again, yeah, and I'll make sure to invite you guys, and you guys can bring some more of your design, your illustration, your dark mode, whatever you want.
And I'll be sure to send you. We have a friend who's a general counsel at was an attorney at the Campari Group. And he lives here in New York, and his home bar is pretty similar to what you got there. I mean, it is intense. It's intense.
If he's got some extra bottles, I can store them for him. No problem. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All right, guys. Thanks
so
a
much,
lot.
Chris.
This is really
Thanks for
great.
joining us, everyone.
The team from Pico, and you can find them online at trypico.com. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.